everyone, welcome to Learning Literature with Purba. In today's video, we are going to discuss Aristotle's theory of imitation and tragedy, which is a very important part of classical literary criticism. So if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, then do subscribe to it and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update. Aristotle was a Greek philosopher living during the classical period in ancient Greece. He traveled to Athens to study under Plato. He was the founder of Lyceum, the peripatetic school of philosophy, and he was also the founder of Aristotelian tradition. Aristotle's writing cover many subjects including physics, biology, zoology, metaphysics, logics, ethics, aesthetics, rhetorics, poetry, music, theatre, politics, economics, and so on and so forth. Aristotle's chief student, notable student, was Alexander the Great. The most important work of Aristotle is the Poetics. He has given his theory of imitation and tragedy in the Poetics. Now let's take a look at Aristotle's concept of imitation or mimesis. The Poetics begin with the statement that imitation or mimesis is a way through which artistic representation is possible. Unlike his teacher Plato, Aristotle had a lot of respect for the poet. Therefore, Aristotle criticized Plato's concept of mimesis. We all know that Plato banished poets from his ideal state because, according to him, art is mere imitation and is therefore deceptive. Now let's take a look at what Aristotle had said in favor of poetry and mimesis. Number 1. Aristotle said that although poetry is artistic imitation, it is not merely an act of copying, but rather an act of imagination. Poetry is creative imagination. Aristotle equated poetry with music and said that rhythm, language, and harmony are the channels through which artistic representation is possible. Number 2. Aristotle said that when a poet creates an object, he incorporates universal elements into it. And because of the universality contained in art, art leads to truth. Art leads to a higher truth and art leads to knowledge. Therefore, art cannot be merely an act of copying, but rather it leads to universal truth. Third, Aristotle said that the instinct for imitation is implanted in human beings since childhood. That is how a human being learns to walk and talk, by imitating the adults. Therefore, imitation is a form of healthy human expression. Fourth, Aristotle said that since learning and admiring causes pleasure, any work of imitation such as poetry, music, sculpture causes pleasure. The primary purpose of imitation in art is to cause pleasure by imitating action. Through music, the artist can imitate courage and other qualities and emotions. Fifth, Aristotle also said that every successful poetry and drama teach morality. As poetry is philosophical in nature, it is beneficial for the entire nation. Now we will talk about Aristotle's theory of tragedy. In the Poetics, Aristotle has first given the concept of mimesis, which is common to all fine arts and which we have already discussed. Next, he had talked about the treatment of the various genres of poetry, such as epic, tragedy, and comedy. Thirdly, he has divided tragedy into 6 elements. Fourthly, he has talked about catharsis. So now we will take a look at tragedy. Tragedy is a genre of poetry that concerns serious action. It is divided into 6 elements. These 6 elements make a great tragedy. So what are the 6 elements? Number 1, plot. Number 2, character. Number 3, thought. Number 4, language. Number 5, music. And number 6, spectacle. Let's first look at plot, which is also called mythos. Aristotle has said that plot is the soul of tragedy. Now there are 5 things that make a great plot. Number 1, completeness. The story must have a beginning, middle and end. Number 2, magnitude. The length of the plot should be such that the audience can remember it easily. 3, determinate structure. Every scene of the play should be necessary. Means even if one part or one scene of the play is removed, the audience should not be able to understand it. 4th, universality. The protagonist of the play should behave in such a manner that most human beings behave under a given situation. 5th, unity. Aristotle said that the play must have unity of place, unity of time and unity of action. Unity of time. The play should represent actions that takes place at the same amount of time as shown during the play. That means there should not be any leaps of time. The dramatist cannot show after 3 hours or after 3 days or anything such as that. Number 2, unity of action. The play should be about the action of the protagonist. So there should not be any subplots. Unity of place. The play should represent only one physical place. It should not try to compress geography. There should not be 2 physical places shown on the stage. That means the dramatist cannot show one scene in one part of Europe and another scene in another part of Europe. Now the plot can be divided into 3 parts. Number 1, astonishment. Action that inspires fear and pity in a reader. Pathos is action of suffering, such as death, wounding, bodily agonies. Number 2, Anagnorisis. It is the moment of discovery, recognition of a past act or identity of a person. Third, Peripetia. It means reversal of action. The opposite goal is achieved. These 3 parts of a plot results in fear and pity in audience and results in catharsis, which means purification or cleansing of unhealthy emotions. Catharsis is an aesthetic experience. We can only find catharsis when we watch a tragic play. Tragedy results in catharsis by inspiring fear and pity in audience. Aristotle said that there are 2 kinds of plot. Simple plot. It does not have anagnorisis and peripetia. Number 2, complex plot. It has both anagnorisis and peripetia. After plot, let's take a look at the second element of tragedy, which is character or ethos. Now, what are the characteristics of a tragic hero? Number 1, he must have a high status in society. Number 2, the tragic hero must be good. His goodness should reflect in his speeches. Third, it should be a realistic character. The tragic hero must be true to life. Fourth, the actions of the tragic hero must be consistent throughout the play. Fifth, hamartia or tragic flaw. It means error of judgment made accidentally. So the tragic hero should be good, but he should not be perfect. He must have one tragic flaw that will bring his downfall. In the case of Hamlet, we see that Hamlet's tragic flaw was that he thought too much, that eventually delayed his actions. Whereas in the case of Othello, we see that Othello's tragic flaw was that he rushed into action without thinking anything. So the tragic hero must have a tragic flaw, also called hamartia. Third, thought or dianoia. The constant inner questioning that goes on in the mind of the protagonist is called dianoia, and it is the third element of tragedy. This constant inner questioning makes the character choose one way or another. Like in the case of Hamlet, there is this questioning of to be or not to be. Thought or dianoia is a very essential element of tragedy. Fourth, language or diction, also called lexis. Language can be divided into two parts: spoken word, which is the exchange of dialogues and conversational language; sung word, usually the chorus sings it. So it is because of diction that we can understand when the characters are giving a command, a threat, or saying a statement, or a prayer, or a question, or an answer. Fifth, music or melopeia. Music is an essential element of tragedy. The Greek chorus used a wide range of tunes and melodies to evoke powerful emotions and poignant memories. Music was used to beautify drama and to intensify it. Sixth, spectacle or obsess. Spectacle or obsess includes everything visual on the theatre, such as the formation of dancers in the chorus, the costumes, movements, gestures, and hand signs of the actors. It is basically stage scenery. So that's it about today's video, where we discussed Aristotle's theory of mimesis and tragedy. I hope you found the video useful. If you found it helpful, then do like it and share with your friends. I will be back next week with a new video on a literary work. Till then, stay tuned to Learning Literature with Purba, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also stay connected on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to be a member of Learning Literature with Purba, then do click on the blue join button. So I'll meet you next week with a brand new video. Thank you for watching.